outcomes of the SNOMED CT Expo 2023. My name's Ian Green. I'm the Customer Relations Lead for Europe and also the Global Clinical Engagement Lead. And I'll be moderating today's session. So just a reminder, all questions will be answered at the conclusion of the presentation. If you're watching this online, then please use the Q&A button, which is at the bottom of your screen. And for those of you on site, I'll be wandering around the microphone after. So without further ado, let me introduce Susan Matney. And she'll be presenting today on taming nursing assessments from the wild. Sounds marvellous. Yeah.
So for those of you that don't know me, and I know almost everybody in the room, I've been working in standardized terminologies for the last 25 years and chaired the Nursing Link Subcommittee, started the Nursing Link Subcommittee in 2002, and I chaired the Nursing Special Interest Group in SNOMED CT, and I was a subject matter expert when they integrated ICMP into SNOMED CT. I helped review the mappings. But what I'm not working right now. I stepped away a couple of years ago because of personal reasons, and I'm really happy to be back. And one of my initial things that I did as I came back is I earned that last stamp on my signature, which is I'm a certified author level 2 for SNOMED CT. And I encourage you, all of you, if you haven't taken any of the foundation classes, or if you have, continue, because the classes are just incredible and very well done. And I learned a ton, and it was very humbling because I didn't know everything I thought I knew. So the objectives today, I'm going to kind of switch gears a little bit, because as we start talking about LOINC, and me being I'm also on the collaboration group that's integrating LOINC into SNOMED. A lot of the work that we've done historically in the United States has involved both LOINC and SNOMED, and I'll talk to you about the standards that are related to that and why. So I'm going to talk to you about why we map nursing assessments to LOINC and SNOMED. And then the main thing I want you to understand is why we use qualifier values as values for our assessment question answers, and give you some examples in SNOMED as to how you can start gathering your answers from clinical findings that are qualifiers. So it's really kind of a fun thing to start looking at. So I'm going to go through the background of where we are in the United States, a little bit about the model development process. I represent the Nursing Knowledge Big Data Initiative, so I'm going to tell you a little bit about them. And then some of the results are the mapping heuristics. We have several people in the room that have worked on this projects for a long time. Veterans Administration has worked on wounds assessments. Christine Spiesel has helped us with heuristics. Cindy Lundberg's now helping us with LOINC. So we've got a lot of nurses involved in this work. And then I'm going to actually give you the fun stuff, is where we start really looking at the data and seeing what it looks like in SNOMED CT. So in the United States, the American Nurses Association recognized terminologies for use within an EHR. At the same time, they had EHR, they went out and certified EHRs for nursing, similarly to what ONC is doing now for certifying EHRs. And so in order to be a certified EHR, you had to be using the recognized terminologies. And Deb Konachek took SNOMED to the ANA in 2002, and I took LOINC to the ANA in 2002, and we're the only multidisciplinary, well, the ABC codes, but they don't really count, multidisciplinary terminologies that are recognized by the American Nurses Association. In 2017, they came out with the first nursing, the Office of the National Coordinator Interoperability Standards Advisory, and that advisory recommends, when you saw all the common data elements that he showed up on the board, it says, okay, so a problem that needs to come from the clinical findings. So the Interoperability Standards Advisory has nursing assessments, nursing outcomes, nursing diagnoses, and it outlines how it should be encoded in the electronic health record. And because of that, the American Nurses Association came out with a statement that said, okay, so we recognize all these terminologies and it's okay if you use them within your system. But if you're exchanging the information you should use LOINC and SNOMED CT to exchange the information. And that was the premise behind us creating LOINC and SNOMED assessments. Also in the interoperability, I talked to you about the they outline what you should use. And this is what it is right now. But from this presentation and our work, we need to take information back to them. The assessment question comes from LOINC. So you will see as I do some of my mapping, it aligns with observables in SNOMED CT. The assessment answer, they say a clinical finding or situation with explicit context. I say not a clinical finding unless you absolutely have to. The diagnosis problem, clinical findings, and situation with explicit context, I should have on there. Intervention is procedure. There's going to be there's overlap between procedures and observations right now. And as we start going forward with the LOINC SNOMED collaborative, we'll start evaluating how this works for the clinical content. And then outcomes, if outcomes says normal thermic, so that's a clinical finding, then you can use SNOMED CT. But if the outcome is you want the hematocrit to be above 35, then you're going to use a LOINC code for hematocrit and you're going to say, I want it to be over 35. So the Nursing Knowledge Big Data Initiative, many of you know Connie Delaney. She started this 10 years ago. We just had our 10th year reunion. I am on the steering committee for the Nursing Knowledge Big Data Initiative, and our vision is to improve health and healthcare by using nursing knowledge empowered by informatics. And that knowledge for us are knowledge models that we create and encode with LOINC and SNOMED. So we want to use this knowledge empowered by informatics so that we can enable nursing insights and evidence to support individuals, families, communities, and redefine and magnify the value of nursing. It seems like forever we're always trying to say, who are nurses and what do they do? So this organization has 8 work groups. It changes. We brought the nurse modeling and coding work group together. Initially, when they started doing their analysis, it was the analysis and knowledge modeling group. And then once the analysis was complete, they kind of combined us with the nursing knowledge and coding group. The policy and advocacy group is the group that's been working like the national identifier for nursing. And they are the ones that have worked with the Interoperability Standards Advisory to get the nursing content in. So, and that is led by Joyce Sensmeyer. So you can see all the different working groups we meet sometimes. Some of them meet bi-monthly, some meet weekly, some meet monthly, but they all are doing a lot of work, and you can see a lot of publications coming out of this. So the nursing knowledge, big data, knowledge modeling and encoding process, the knowledge modeling group, they develop a model using analytics. They gathered 6 million instances from 8 institutions, and they all happen to be Epic, and a lot of them in Minnesota. And they ran the analytics to see what was documented by nursing. And so they created the content spreadsheet from the analytics and start saying, okay, we measure skin color, and these are the values that we give for skin color. Pink, ready, cyanotic is a value that they have for skin color. And so we get the spreadsheet, the encoding and modeling group gets the spreadsheet, and we start trying to promote conformance to the standards. So we make sure that the observation question is an observation in LOINC, and if not, then we are going to request it from LOINC. And the observation values, if they're encoded, they come from SNOMED CT. And so we actually submit to both of those organizations, and we have a process document that we've developed on how to submit a panel, because all of these what we've created are in panels kind of based off of CCC. So you have the respiratory assessment panel, you have the cardiovascular assessment panel, you have the gastrointestinal assessment panel, the genitourinary assessment panel, and those are all in LOINC and will be coming to SNOMED CT as observable entities. And then the other thing that we did, and Christine Spies is in the room, is we developed heuristics and trying to say, okay, if we've got this kind of data, we're going to map it to this. And I'm going to go through those heuristics with you. Early on, we started with, you can see this is a mind map, but we now that we're putting it in UML, because we have problems, we have interventions, and we have outcomes. At the bottom, you can see that the pain intervention, we would have interventions down there, and the pain outcomes. And then the problem is pain. And it could be pain of a body location. If you have a headache, that's a pain. And if you have, chest pain, that's a pain. And so we go into what was in LOINC. I had created a pain model years ago when we were training out in healthcare. I managed the data dictionary team. But everything that's read, we have added since when we started doing the model. Once we get this to this level, then we start sending them back to the subject matter experts. With wound assessment, we worked with the National Pressure Injury Advisory Panel, and then we took it to the VA nurses, and they went through and they looked to see, do you have all the name values, and gave us questions back. And Jay Lyle was involved with us at that time. So the models that we've created to date, and I'm not going to go through a lot of the models because I want to get into the fun part about the content. We have a basic nursing physiologic assessment. And if you're in LOINC, you can look at the assessment panel. If you search loinc.org and look for assessment panel, you're going to find all in the assessment panel is 45 LOINC panels. Not observations, but panels. We have a wound assessment that's 21 panels. It includes, the body location is a panel, because you have the body side and you have all the pieces, parts of that. The pain assessment panel has 30, because we're just finishing that. I know exactly how many value set items. It has 30 observations, 396 value set items, and those are all encoded with SNOMED. And right now, because we're not a standards development organization, we're delivering this as a spreadsheet. And there's not a real clear way to deliver a knowledge model besides FHIR. We have taken wound and we have taken pain to FHIR. It kind of dropped off the map when I dropped off the map, which is scary, because we need to be having champions push this through. I think that we would probably want pain assessment as a FHIR profile so that we can, message it, but it's not happening right now. We are currently working on urinary assessment, and falls assessment is we're working with Patty Dykes to work on that as well. So the mapping heuristics. The first thing, always, you can't give me a word that says edema. I have to have a definition. Are you telling me what is the edema? 1 + 2 + 3 + is an observation. Do you have edema as a clinical finding? Is it a morphology? There's 3 codes that have the string of edema, but without the meaning and the mapping, we cannot do the mapping without the meaning. The observation values should not be include the observation question. So I don't want something that says burning pain. I want something that says, what is the pain sensation? And it is burning. So it comes from the hierarchy of the sensations. The body location should not be pre-coordinated with the condition. We use body location because we're in a knowledge model and we want to be in FHIR. You're going to have the pain condition, and then you're going to have all the information about pain. So I don't need to say, where is your pain body location? Because it's inherited by you're in the FHIR profile of pain. The body location is skin of body locations. That's one thing when we worked with Ken Spackman, we had to make sure we had skin of. So we don't want to include the body locations in the condition in the body location name. Now, there's a lot that do, which is great because that'll give us the qualifiers we need for the answers. But we don't want to put in knee pain as an answer for body location of pain. The condition name doesn't need to be in the qualifying element name. What we got from the nurses is we got the pain, what was the pain pattern, the pain temporal pattern, what's the pain alleviating factors, what's the pain exacerbating factors. Well, for us, when you put that in the model, we want to have alleviating factors and exacerbating factors. One of the issues this has for us is the reference sets are going to change based on the condition. And so when we create a body location reference set for pain, it's going to need to be the pain body location reference set that is associated with the pain, with the body location observation. So it has implications on the reference set side, but not on the observation side. We're going to continue to use that observation. The value sets can be subsets of base type ranges and be named the same as the condition. This is an exception. If you have a name value pair like edema 1+, SNOMED doesn't have edema of the observable and 1+, 2+, 3+ as qualifiers. If you look at the finding, edema finding of 1+, it is not fully defined with a 1+ as it has interpretation. So there are times we use clinical findings, but for us, it is the exception and not the rule. We're going to use qualifiers wherever we can. So the qualifiers that we have outlined is, if it's a color, if it's a skin color, if it's a stool color, if it's a urine color, we want the values to come from the subdomain of colors. We want them to be children of colors. Shapes, like we have the nail shape, clubbing, that comes from the shape finding. Sensations. Sensations are still all over the map in SNOMED CT. You can find sensations as findings and you can find sensations as qualifiers, and they don't align with each other between qualifiers and findings. And so that's some things that we need to work on: frequency per unit of time, and then odor. And we don't have odor, and those of us, we know that Pseudomonas smells fishy, and that odor is not in SNOMED CT. And I just talked about the body location, the body structure. We're not going to put wound body location. We're going to say body location, and then the wound body location value set, not the observation, the value set. And then this is where it says if the name value pair matches the meaning, then we'll use it in an answer as an exception. So from the pain mappings, and you can see this is what on the left-hand side, this is what was requested from the knowledge modeling group. They wanted pain quality, nonverbal pain indicators, pain exacerbating factors. You can see we stripped off pain. All the areas where it was in red on the left-hand side, they are now on the right-hand side as observations. These observations can now be reused in your knowledge models or your fire profiles. So you want to have clinical course. You don't want to have pain clinical course. This is acute chronic pain. And so this is the reason we did that, is because of the information modeling that we have behind this, and not because we're just terminology modeling. Terminology modeling is not exactly how you want to implement things in EHRs. You've got to understand your knowledge and information models to get them in. And this is some of the things that have influenced us from fire and how we create our information model. So the fun stuff, now we get into really geeky fun stuff, and I'm just going to talk to you about color. So we said that we're going to use a range constraint for colors, and I'm going to give you an example of stool color and skin color. This is a fully specified stool color finding. And I want you to really look at this, because this is going to influence where we get our values and our value sets in some way. So the clinical finding has interprets, which is the observation. So we're going to, if we have clinical finding that has interprets in an observation, we're going to need to make sure that we have the codes for those in the observables, or you can't model it. And then it has interpretation. and that is your value. So when I go in and I create an observation of color of stool and the value is yellow, when I store that and put together, it can be a clinical finding, but it's me that decides if I want to put it in the problem list as a clinical finding. It's not me putting it in a mean value pair as a clinical finding. The name is the observation, the value is yellow. And so from that, I went in and I did an ECL and I said, okay, so let's look at finding of color of stool. And what are all the interpretations that I get? What are the colors that I get from that? Pale color saturation. I've never heard nurses call anything as a saturation. Not exactly sure what that even means. Black, green, yellow, red. We're doing good. Abnormal, normal. Okay. Abnormal or a judgment, but you can say that the stool color is abnormal or normal. I would not pre-coordinate it with stool color. I would come out and say, okay, is this within defined limits or is it abnormal? So that's one of the things that really jumped out to me. And then if you start looking, as we start looking across, what is in the link value set, because link has link lists. And the link lists are our value sets that we submitted, the group that we create the list from. For the values, and we send the SNOMED encoded values with them so that they can encode them in SNOMED. I'm doing good. And so now here is, as we start looking at the overlap, this is what we're going to need to do for the LOINC SNOMED collaboration. Okay, do we have a LOINC code? Do we have a SNOMED code? Yes, we have a LOINC code, and yes, we have a SNOMED code. Do they semantically match? Yes, they semantically match. So finding of color of stool is stool color. And if you went to the LOINC SNOMED collaboration, you can start seeing, we start looking at patterns. If we have color in there, then it's probably going to be matching color somewhere else. The LOINC answer list, and this is just a mapping. This isn't a query you drawn out, but the LOINC answer list is clay, black, blood tinged. There's an interesting one. Is that a color? Blood frank, dark red, brown, green. And so you go over and see what's in SNOMED. SNOMED doesn't have frank blood anywhere, actually. And dark red is not in SNOMED. So as we start looking at these, we'll be having to go both ways. As what's in LOINC appropriate? Is when I did ECL, they're the colors that we have from the ECL. Do we need to put those in the value sets? And how do we, melana is black, but that's not a color. That is stool color that's a disorder. And when we met with Cindy, she says, Susan, be really careful when you put in disorders. So some of the discussion from that, and then I'll go into one other color example. The finding of the color of stool in SNOMED has no children. So if you look at color of stool, you're not going to see brown stool. You're not going to see yellow stool. Remember, all of the things that I did with ECL are not in the hierarchy. There's no brown or normal color for stool. SNOMED doesn't have brown, which is interesting. The value set contains both qualifier and clinical findings, and the clinical findings include judgment. So here is skin. This is the same thing. You're seeing that this is another observable entity. This is why we use observations and qualifier values, is because the MRCM says you are going to use qualifier value colors when you result a color as it has interpretation. So the ECL findings for skin, pale red, blue, blue. That nurses don't say blue, gray, white, yellow, pink, red. Maybe if somebody from the Blue Man group was admitted, we might say they had blue skin. But so then here we have the color of skin. You can see we have alignment again with the observation. We have normal color. The nurses wanted to say normal color for race and ethnicity is something that they said they wanted to say it. Again, we have non-color answers. So if I wrote an ECL and I said, I want all the colors, I'm going to have to write a ECL and say, I want other colors plus this and this and this to create my value set. And some of us, when we start talking about that with the Linux SNOMED Collaborative, we'll have to be doing some of that. This is a really interesting model. Here's cyanosis of skin. This is the observation of cyanosis of skin. It interprets color of skin. It is abnormal. I'm not happy that this is abnormal. I might have a guy walking around with PD all the time. He's normally, he's normally cyanotic. I'm not going to say he's abnormal for him. It's normal. So here you're putting a judgment within the finding, which I would discourage doing. And just for FYI, we have put all these value sets in VSAC. We didn't really have a place for value sets as we set up the infrastructure of value sets.